Yeah, that was like 3 days before the shoot, I think. I still didn't know how we were going to work. So on the train, I did the scribble that's on the right-hand side, thinking maybe this is how this works. And that became then a very useful blueprint to show all the crew.
Yeah, I mean, the genesis of the whole thing is that little scribble there, isn't it? That wavy line, and suddenly each one of those dots is a person, and then you can hand that off, like you say, to DOP, and they can start thinking about lighting and what's that dance and how the camera is going to achieve that move. And it's really interesting, isn't it, that something as simple as that is actually super useful for everyone to see. So my next guest is Lauren Midwinter, and the job we're going to be talking about today is for West Midlands Bus, is that right?
It is a job for Transport for West Midlands. I'm from the Midlands, so actually it was an incredibly special project for me, directing a piece of content for the community that I've come from.
Yeah, making the bus ads, what's more glamorous than that?
And making a bus ad? Yeah, I'll play it and then we'll go into it.
Go on.
Getting lost in another world. Getting to the sales. And a night out, just getting started. First dates, save dates, and dates with destiny. It's a slice of life on wheels, and tickets start from just £2.
Great stuff. That's me, isn't it? So I guess what we didn't say is it's a single shot, which is of course the trendiest filmmaking technique at the moment. But what an appropriate thing to chat about.
For ruining this. So you guys will have watched a load of the behind the scenes of Adolescence. Sadly, it's not going to be quite that way. But I think one of the things is about combining performance and a one shot. I'd done a one shot before, so I think that's one of the reasons they came to me and they were looking for a Midlands director. The brief came like this, and very much this is the sort of brief I like. I hate seeing a storyboard at brief stage because it just gets locked in my head. Whereas this is top line what we want, and this is the script. Go for your life.
Lovely. So I guess it was specified that the single shot was definitely what was required.
There
and the black and white
and black and white. Yeah,
nice.
exactly.
Okay. And then it's up to you to really shape that and craft it and mold it and turn it into something.
So originally they just thought of it as a dolly shot from the back of the bus to the front of the bus.
So the dolly shot being a straight sort of pullback without any of the kind of lovely flexing and twisting and turning.
Exactly.
So was that then your build on the brief, was that you started to put in that kind of like dynamic camera movement in your treatment and your response?
Yes. Yeah. It was about, with each job, I always think about what's right for the story. And whilst a one shot might not have been what I would have chosen for this, if I'd just seen the script, I was like, so how can I make this work for the story? I'm always thinking about character. And so I want to be in the worlds of these people. That's the point of the ad, is to show like a cross section of society all in one place, and that's the excitement of it. And so how can I use the camera to tell each of these people's stories?
Nice. And I guess the thing that I'm seeing here in the treatment is the way that you've built these characters, right? You've created people and you've created personas and you've defined who they are in a really detailed way, which maybe might not be the response of everybody when they see that brief.
Well, I kind of knew, usually when I'm in the mix, if it's a triple bid, I'm normally the performance director, and so that's what I go hard in on, especially as this was about the West Midlands. I just wanted to imbue it with who I am, and so the character profiles are something that I use at treatment stage. They're very broad brushstrokes in terms of they can change. If I get the job, they 100% always do change depending on the demographic that the client might want to reach, or just different considerations, practical considerations. They then become the blueprint for all of my departments. Everybody who comes as part of the crew will see these. They become a blueprint for casting, for costume, for makeup, and also for performance.
Nice. So we're seeing George and Nita and Omar here, but I'm guessing there's going to be all the other characters that we saw.
Yes. So
they were in the treatment as well somewhere, right?
Yeah, there was 14 of them. It was a chunky treatment.
Cool. Okay. So obviously lots of challenges that come with a single shot. I mean, I guess the first one is that, you can't cut. So you
can't cut. So there's loads of challenges with a one shot in that you can cut, but I don't like doing one shots that way. I'd rather it be a true one shot because I think there's an energy to it that you can't really replicate. And it is definitely more like theatre than filmmaking. I come from that background, so that I think maybe plays into some of my strengths. In it's about connecting the crew and the cast together. That's really key to making this work.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to come on to that point when we get into your on-shoot, your set day process, because I think that's pretty unique, and I think people are going to find that very interesting.
It was a tight pre-production. It was 9 days of pre-production we shot. I guess the main challenges for this is tiny space. Buses are tiny, and then you put in 14 cast members and a crew, and all the equipment, and it just becomes really, really tight. And it's also a 30-second ad, and I have to tell a story.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a good way.
The black and white thing, I mean, we can touch on this. Obviously, this was something that was dictated to you and said it had to be this way.
Yes. I guess the most interesting thing for me is I love colour. Colour really dictates a lot of my work. So to suddenly be told you're going to do it in black and white, and that it impacts absolutely every single decision. Like, you think you know filmmaking, then you do black and white, and you're like, oh, geez. Like, you have to think more about contrast and texture and pattern in ways that I hadn't
wanted to
before.
jump through to your casting images, because I feel like, you know, you've really stuck to it throughout this whole process, is that everything we've seen has been black and white, right? So you haven't, you know, you haven't got tempted to put anything colourful in any of these decks, just to make sure that we're always looking at it through the, you know, the final lens almost.
Even like WhatsApp messages from my costume designer. She was sending me things when she was out shopping in charity shops and vintage shops, and she would send them in black and white, and all the monitors were black and white. Just, I didn't want anyone to think in any other way than the key points of black and white, which was contrast, pattern and colour. Pattern and texture, sorry.
Nice. I skipped over the casting, but I guess we're seeing here your detailed character briefs that you've already created through your treatment, and these sort of personas that you've developed for each of your 14 cast.
I'm interested in an energy of an actor rather than a look of an actor. So the character profile is very much about describing the type of personality and the vibe of the person. And so Elenka looked through thousands of tapes, and then I looked through the hundreds that she then sent me, and then we did 2 days of 40 castings each day. It was wild, but great, and we ended up casting all West Midlands actors, which I was thrilled about.
Okay, on to the actual mechanics then. So how did you pick your bus?
Turns out not all buses are the same. The client chose the bus they wanted, and that bus, you can't move any of the seats. Those metal poles, they're a bugger. And then you got to think about not what's just inside the bus, but what's outside of the bus as well, because you're going to see through all those windows. And you've got no production design, so your costumes becomes so important. It becomes the production design to help guide the eye through the space.
Yeah, nice. And I noticed, I mean, maybe we're touching it when we see the finished thing, but you ended up in a location that had a bit of green, a bit of nature, a bit of stone, and maybe had you been somewhere that was entirely urban, the black and white might not have been that favourable.
And also the Midlands is really a varied place, so you know
you've got to show it off.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're into boards. So this is now when you're kind of plotting your move through the bus. Do you want to tell us about your process of how you sort of block this one out?
Well, no, storyboards for me just aren't, because I'm so performance driven, they're not that important to me at this stage, especially with 9 days pre-production. But I knew the client needed to see it to feel reassured. So you can see from the top ones, obviously the film, middle one is the storyboard, and the ones below are my scribbles that I sent to the storyboard artist.
Oh, I love that evolution though, the way it goes from scribble to less scribble to beautiful finished thing. It's cool. Okay, so then we're moving on a bit more. So Tech Recce.
That was like 3 days before the shoot, I think. I still didn't know how we were going to work. So on the train, I did the scribble that's on the right-hand side, thinking maybe this is how this works. And then we went to the bus depot, saw the bus, and that became then a very useful blueprint to show all the crew. Yeah,
I mean, you know, the genesis of the whole thing is that little scribble there, isn't it? That wavy line, and suddenly each one of those dots is a person, and then you can hand that off, like you say, to DOP, and they can start thinking about lighting and what's that dance and how the camera is going to achieve that move. And it's really interesting, isn't it, that something as simple as that is actually super useful for everyone to see.
And at this point, we didn't know if we were doing Steadicam or gimbal, so it was still very much TBC. I knew, though, I wanted to see out of a window at somebody, come into the bus, and then see that person at the end, because story mechanic wise, it's a really nice bookend, really useful. and then how can we utilize the levels of the bus, like people coming down the stairs, to give us movement impetus to go to the next person.
Okay, you touched on this. So yeah, camera techniques, right? I mean, obviously moving a camera through that space is quite tricky. There are pros and cons to the Steadicam and pros and cons to the gimbal.
Yes, a lot of camera chat.
And what did you end up shooting on then?
We did it on a Ronin.
Okay, so gimbal.
And that we, mainly due to the logistics of the space, how tight it is, all these metal bars, and I was like, I want to be in the spaces of these people, like,
and passing through underneath under the arms. Yeah,
exactly. And so we had just an incredible operator who we stripped down their camera to as light as it possibly could go. And like he did just a phenomenal job, as did the focus puller to go through all of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, everyone's got to hit their marks.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, on to the shoot.
Yes.
So yeah, you were telling me about your 3-stage rehearsal process, which I think is fascinating. So I think everyone would enjoy hearing about that.
So it's a 1-day shoot. We had no pre-light, we had no rehearsal time. And this is where those character profiles come in really, really handy, because the actors will have already received those. So they're already aware that this isn't just a commercial where you've got a label of mum or like old man. It's really hard for an actor to walk onto set and just generate something nuanced and detailed just from maybe a couple of lines. So I do this on every single one of my jobs, even if it's like for washing up liquid. Like I just want the actor to feel like they can get their teeth into something. And so the first rehearsal is, because we didn't have a fitting either because it was 9 days prep. So all 14 of our casts were in fittings for quite a while. So I then took the opportunity to sit down with each one of them, just to have a chat with them, get to know them, build that rapport, speak about the character, just start to feed in and layer in little thoughts that I had, so that when they come together as a group, they have a point of contact. They already know me, even if they don't know any of the other 13 people that are there.
Okay, so stage 1 is the one-on-one chat with the director.
Yeah.
Stage 2.
So I asked Tim, to be honest, this job would not look as good as it does without Tim Marshall and Rosie, who are a producer and PM. Like, they really, really grafted hard. And if I asked for something, they'd just make it work. Like, it was really quite incredible. And so I'd asked for an entire hour out of a shoot day to go for a rehearsal. And it was a closed rehearsal. So no agency, no client, nobody else but me and the cast.
So just to repeat, you're taking all the cast into a room for an hour on the shoot day, and you're not letting anyone else in there?
No one else.
Okay.
Not even the DP, just nobody. And so, because I come from that theatre background, I know that like you need to let actors be able to make mistakes, and if they've got people watching, then they're going to feel inhibited. And I really had to put my money where my mouth was, because I was like, it's been a while since I've done a theatre rehearsal. Because like I say, it's more, you have one chance to hit this, and it's so pressurized for both the cast and the crew. How can I get them all on board? I know how to build a team through working in theatre. And so we did this hour rehearsal, but we didn't rehearse this at all. What we did was a load of theatre games. And so I don't know what the client must have thought, because there was lots of laughing and shouting. Like, it was really raucous. But it was important for me that they felt bonded as a unit, because ultimately they're playing off of each other. They all have to support each other in that moment.
So stage 2 is an hour of paid time for everybody, but just playing theatre games. Nice.
Yes, but also the crew are rehearsing in the bus. So Sarah, the DP, and I have worked together multiple times, and like because of that, I knew that she would be able to rehearse with the crew whilst I'm rehearsing with the actors.
Okay, so it is useful time. But I mean, it sounds like your magical process worked and you got there eventually. So
I was thrilled, because as we were walking over to the bus, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, I don't know if this is going to do what I hope it does. And as soon as we did one run through, Sarah was like, I don't know what happened in that room, but you guys are all like in sync. They all feel like they know each other, and they just kept on hitting the marks.
Wow. Okay. So stage 3, we're finally in the bus. We're finally there with everybody. This is your first like proper run through, is it? Of the
Proper
actual
run
move?
through with the cast and the crew. Still by this point, the client and agency have seen nothing. So monitors are off. So they haven't even seen the crew do a run through. Like that's the hardest challenge of a one shot, is like, you just have to have nerves of steel.
Yeah, just convince everybody you know what you're doing, and
because
tell them it's going to be fine.
We're wrapping in 2 hours and we haven't shot anything and they haven't seen anything.
Okay, so this is the first go, is it, or somewhere around there?
Yes, it is. And what we found from doing this was that we have to wait for the guy to move, for the camera to then move. And what that told us is that actually all the characters motivate the camera. And suddenly then the visual language changes.
So you've got this little bump sort of here. The camera is sort of wanting to drive on to the next element, but in reality, your cast member hasn't caught up yet. And then, suddenly people are working out that actually it should be led by the performance rather than the sort of timings that you've already dictated.
And then suddenly the crew and the cast meld together. And that's really exciting. That's kind of what I was saying before, like this special magic that happens in one shots where it really becomes like in theatre when you've rehearsed for months and months and months, and then when they step out onto that stage, like I can't call stop at any point. They just have to go. And so suddenly the performers are in control. And that's what happened in this. The performers then became in control and the crew then became part of that performance. It was really exciting.
Brilliant. And then at that point, you basically got it, haven't you, right? And then it's in the bag.
Yeah, I mean, 20 takes
later, you got it.
Though one of the clients was like, oh, after the first one, we could have just taken that. And I was like, okay, but I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad you kept going.
Okay.
So post-production was so much easier.
Yeah, well, let's run into it. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's not a huge amount of post because that's your edit, isn't it? There you go, done.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Top and tail that.
We talked about black and white. I guess, maybe to people who haven't worked in black and white, there's so many ways it can go, right? I mean, there's almost more possibilities because there's lots of things you wouldn't do in color that you could do in black and white, right? Because you can completely play around with all of those kind of midtones and all of those things that should be sort of neutral and natural.
Yes, the grade is one of my favorite parts of the process. Performance first, and then the playing with color I love. And then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get that same buzz of doing black and white. I had no idea what to expect. We worked with Carol over at Harbour. I've worked with her multiple times and I know she's done black and white, so I knew I was in good hands. Sarah Dean, the DOP, had also done black and white, and so it was great for me just to sit in there and see how much an image can be shaped and changed even in black and white. Because you can't rely on pulling out certain colors and making something. It's a whole different beast. It was really, really exciting to see, and just a whole other way of guiding the eye through the space.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the best things about this job, isn't it? Is that you think you understand something, right? And then you hand an edit over to an amazing colorist and say, right, make this black and white. And then suddenly there's this whole realm of possibility that opens up that you didn't even know existed.
Yes.
And you just watch them doing their thing and you think, wow, this is really cool. I love my job because I get to hang out with these sort of people.
Yeah, and that there are certain moments that I was a bit like, about, and then she did something to it and I was like, oh my God, that's totally changed the feel of that moment, because she's kind of taken some of the contrast over here and then force the eye over to this part of the image. It was great.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically there. So this is the end.
Yes.
Always good to see feedback. Always good to see positive feedback.
Yes. Yeah. I guess I'm in this for the process. I enjoy making stuff.
Comes to the right place.
Yes. But I guess on this, I just wanted to say, if you want more information on deeper intricacies of things, there was an article where I was interviewed about it on LBB. And then on my Instagram, there's I do BTS for pretty much all my projects. And there is a Insta stories. What's it called? When it's up there,
the highlight, isn't it? Yeah.
God, I'm old.
All right, more BTS in the highlights. Cool. There we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.